This is Russia's northernmost military outpost, the Nogorskaya Air Base, also known as the Arctic Trefoil. It's designed to house up to 150 permanent residents, and it's located just 600 miles from the North Pole. It's just one example of a rapidly expanding Arctic military infrastructure that Russia has been developing for more than a decade. Facilities like these help explain why Donald Trump keeps talking about
Greenland. We have to have Greenland.
Because right now, a battle to control the Arctic is being fought by the world's major powers.
It is a very strategically important area, one of the most overlooked ones in the world.
It's a fight for trade, natural resources, and military dominance.
Polar politics is part of the new great game between Russia, China, and the United States.
While Trump's promises, some would say threats, to control Greenland have dominated the headlines, other countries have been busy in the region recently too. In January, Vladimir Putin visited the home of his Arctic naval fleet, Murmansk. He was there to witness the launch of Russia's newest nuclear submarine, equipped with state-of-the-art hypersonic Zircon missiles, capable of striking targets 1,000 kilometers away.
Будем и дальше делать все, чтобы надежно защитить территориальную целостность и суверенитет России.
In March, NATO carried out Joint Viking in Norway, a large-scale exercise focused on Arctic combat. Those took place just months after Russia and China held naval exercises nearby.
China wants to make sure that it gets its trade routes. The Russians intend to be the dominant military power in the high north. And the Americans have woken up late over the past decade and realized this and are now moving.
Beware of the ice.
This isn't the first time the Arctic has been in the geopolitical spotlight. During World War II, Nazi Germany invaded and occupied Denmark.
The whole country was in their hands within 24 hours.
Greenland at that point was a Danish colony, so America deployed troops to secure the island before the Nazis could.
Victory in Europe brought wild rejoicing.
A liberated Denmark retook control of the island, but US troops stayed. President Truman offered Denmark $100 million in gold, worth about $1 billion today, to buy the island. Denmark rejected the offer outright.
Enemy jet bombers would be able to attack without detection until it was too late.
During the Cold War, Greenland's strategic importance was amplified because of the GI-UK gap, the crucial naval choke point formed by the waters between Greenland, Iceland, and the UK. NATO, including the US, feared that Soviet submarines would use this gap to access the North Atlantic and target mainland America and Europe. So, the US constructed over a dozen military installations in Greenland, including early warning systems and radar to detect Soviet aircraft, submarines navigating near the island, or missiles flying over the Arctic. Ultimately, the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 led to a period of reduced Arctic tension and the neglect of these facilities. But then, the ice began to melt. Climate change is rapidly warming the Arctic 4 times faster than the rest of the planet, leading to a dramatic reduction in sea ice. This melting ice is unlocking 2 huge opportunities: new, shorter shipping routes between Asia and Europe, and access to vast, untapped natural resources. Vladimir Putin believes there are $30 trillion, that's trillion with a T, worth of resources locked under the ice, including an estimated 30% of the world's undiscovered gas reserves and 13% of its oil, as well as significant deposits of rare earth minerals. Take Greenland. The US Geological Survey says the island has deposits almost as large as the entire United States. At the moment, these reserves are almost entirely untouched. In fact, 43 of the 50 critical minerals that the US considers vital to security are sitting under the ice and rock of Greenland.
Trump knows that China controls huge amounts of the precious metals required for 21st century technology. And so he's trying to redress that and balance it more. And part of that is Greenland, which has got so much of these metals.
These are the type of minerals that are absolutely essential to building the technologies that keep countries going.
That said, it's not clear how easily accessible the deposits on Greenland really are. And even if the US can dig them out of the ground, China currently dominates the refinement and processing of these resources. But regardless of the huge obstacles of mining resources in the Arctic, the US, along with countries across the region, are staking claims for these minerals vital to the 21st century. Each Arctic nation already has an exclusive economic zone, or EEZ, extending 200 miles from its coastline, granting them sole rights to the resources in those zones under international law. But as resources become more accessible, countries are looking to extend their claims beyond these established zones. Many of these overlap. To help strengthen their claims, Russia has substantially bolstered its presence in the Arctic since 2007. The country possesses the world's largest icebreaker fleet, giving it a significant advantage in navigating the icy waters. Just one of the steps it's taken to effectively control a key global transport artery that flows along its Arctic coast, the Northern Sea Route, or NSR. The NSR offers a significantly shorter passage between Asia and Europe compared to the Suez Canal, saving time and money. Unsurprisingly, the route is of huge interest to the world's largest exporter of goods. And while China isn't an Arctic nation, it has declared itself a near-Arctic state and views the region as strategically vital.
What China wants is a polar Silk Road, and it wants to be able to access the riches of the Arctic and also strategically to have footholds across the Arctic.
To achieve its goal of establishing a polar Silk Road, China has commissioned its own fleet of icebreaker ships, funded infrastructure and research projects in the region, and has been investing in one key relationship. After Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, it became an international pariah, but Putin never lost focus on the Arctic. Leading to a mutually beneficial partnership, China serves as a financial backer of Russia's exploitation of Arctic resources without challenging Russia's dominance in the region. In return, China is given access to expand its own Arctic ambitions. In recent years, the two nations have been conducting joint military exercises in the Arctic, signalling to the rest of the world their alignment and ambitions in the region.
Given that this is a huge maritime area and increasingly important, control of the Arctic would be a large part of being a great power.
These joint military exercises are the spear tip of the partnership, and Russia has been building its military presence in the Arctic for years, outpacing any other power. Take Kotelny Island. Satellite images from 2017 reveal a Soviet-era radar base being refitted with a runway, pier and barracks. By 2024, the works have been completed, with new infrastructure capable of housing hundreds of Russian troops. This is Wrangel Island, located roughly 300 miles from Alaska. A prefabricated barracks was installed sometime around 2016, and a long-range radar system was upgraded. And of course, there's the Nagorskaya Air Base on Franz Josef Land. Originally built as a staging post for Russian long-range bombers to reach America in the 1950s, satellite images show massive construction work beginning around 2017. By 2020, the runway was rebuilt, and since then the base has been expanded once more. But these are only a handful of examples. Since the early 2000s, Russia claims to have built more than 400 military installations in the region. It's reported that Russia's bases inside the Arctic Circle outnumber NATO's by about a third, all part of Russia's Arctic 2035 strategy to establish its economic and military dominance in the region.
Russia regards the Russian Arctic as its backyard. We see remilitarization to ensure that Russia remains the dominant European Arctic power.
Lots of people took their eye off the ball. They mothballed their bases. And then as Russia began to surge back, people began to realize they're unmothballing, they're reinforcing their Arctic warfare capabilities. And since then, everyone's been playing catch-up.
Which brings us back to the US and Donald Trump's very public desire to control Greenland. Right now, it's home to the US's only base operating in the Arctic outside of Alaska. The Bidufik Space Base was originally built in 1943 and still houses crucial early warning systems, detecting satellites, missiles, and submarines that pass nearby.
Then, as now, it's the quickest route for Russian submarines under the ice pack to reach the North American coast.
This is where the United States can defend itself against incoming Russian missiles.
As Russia's dominance in the region grew, the US has been paying attention to the region again. Starting around 2010, it pursued a policy largely based on deterrence, focused on building alliances in the region. President Trump was largely derided when he initially floated plans to buy Greenland during his first term.
This is something that's been discussed for many years. Harry Truman had the idea of Greenland.
Under President Biden, more decisive action was taken. He appointed an Arctic ambassador, and the US Coast Guard began to build its first heavy icebreaker vessel in more than 50 years.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Since taking office for a second time, Trump has pledged to build 40 of these ships, and of course, relaunched his bid for Greenland. Even before Trump began a global trade war that heavily targets China, it was clear that the US needed to secure more rare earth minerals.
Trump is, in a way, trying to future-proof America. If the United States can guarantee its supply of them, then it starts to chip away at China's dominance in that field.
Trump's overtures to Greenland have been widely criticised by US allies, but interest and action in the Arctic does make sense.
It is a key strategic asset for the United States as Mr. Trump rekindles really years of neglect in terms of how North America has treated the Arctic.
So it's entirely logical, this focus. The manner in which the current American administration is going about it is one thing, but the logic of what they're doing is faultless.
The manner of their approach, though, is key. Many in Trump's position would choose to work closely with their allies. NATO countries already control a vast area of the Arctic region. The US is already free to operate its military base in Greenland, and Denmark announced in January it would spend billions more on Arctic security. So questioning Denmark's sovereignty over Greenland directly undermines a long-established and productive alliance. But with Trump, be it through tariffs or confrontational foreign policy, striking a deal and asserting US dominance is often the real goal.
This is his way of the commodification of foreign policy, that if you can buy and commercialize diplomacy, he sees that commodification as a way of beating the Chinese to those rare earth minerals.
We're in a new era. There is a dividing line, and it is when Trump came back to office. And in this new era, the United States is not first amongst equals, it's first.
There's also the desire of the people living in the region to consider, not least Greenlanders. According to recent polling, most of the island wants independence from Denmark at some point, but a similar majority reject Trump's offer of leaving Denmark to join the US.
USA skal ikke overtage Grønland. Grønland grønlændernes.
Whatever Greenland decides for its future, the island is caught in a struggle between three of the world's most powerful nations.
There's a lot of flashpoints around the world, and this may grow to be a potential flashpoint.
The era of neglect is over, and the spotlight is back on the Arctic. So, with or without Trump's erratic policy maneuvers, treatment of NATO partners, and disregard for international norms, the Arctic will play a crucial role in shaping the world this century.